Galileo Galilei was one of the greatest scientists in history. He was an Italian astronomer, mathematician, physicist, and philosopher who changed the way people understood the universe. Before Galileo, most people believed that the Earth was the center of everything. Galileo's discoveries showed that the Earth actually moves around the Sun. Because of his ideas, he faced great trouble from the Church, but his courage and curiosity helped shape modern science. Early life and education. Galileo Galilei was born on February 15, 1564, in Pisa, Italy. His father, Vincenzo Galilei, was a musician and a scholar. His mother's name was Giulia Ammanniti. Galileo was the oldest of 6 children. His family was not rich, but his father valued education and encouraged Galileo to study. As a young boy, Galileo was curious about how things worked. He loved to observe the world around him. He often asked questions about nature, stars, and movement. At first, his father wanted him to become a doctor, so Galileo went to the University of Pisa to study medicine. However, he soon discovered that he did not enjoy medicine. Instead, he found his true passion in mathematics and natural philosophy, what we now call physics. The discovery of motion. At the university, Galileo began to question the ideas of the famous Greek philosopher Aristotle. Aristotle had taught that heavier objects fall faster than lighter ones. Galileo was not convinced. He decided to test it himself. According to legend, he climbed the Leaning Tower of Pisa and dropped 2 balls of different weights. To everyone's surprise, both balls hit the ground at the same time. This experiment showed that the speed of falling objects does not depend on their weight. This simple but powerful discovery became one of the first steps toward modern physics. Galileo also studied how objects move on slopes. He realized that when friction is reduced, an object continues to move longer. This led him to develop the concept of inertia, the idea that an object in motion stays in motion unless something stops it. Later, Isaac Newton would use this principle to form his famous laws of motion. The invention of the telescope. In 1609, Galileo heard about a new invention from the Netherlands, a small tube with glass lenses that could make distant things look closer. It was called a telescope. Galileo built his own telescope, and he improved it so much that it could magnify objects up to 20 times. When Galileo looked at the night sky through his telescope, he was amazed. He discovered things that no one had ever seen before. He saw mountains and craters on the moon, proving that the moon was not a perfect, smooth sphere as people believed. He also observed that Jupiter had 4 small moons moving around it. This was clear evidence that not everything in the sky orbited the Earth. He saw the planet Venus showing phases, just like the moon, which only made sense if Venus was moving around the sun. He also saw countless new stars in the rings of Saturn. Each discovery supported the idea of the heliocentric model, the sun-centered universe proposed by Nicolaus Copernicus. Conflict with the Church. In Galileo's time, the Catholic Church had great power. The Church taught that the Earth was the center of the universe and that everything, including the sun and stars, moved around it. This idea was based on both ancient philosophy and religious belief. When Galileo began to publish his findings, many church leaders felt threatened. They believed his ideas were against the Bible. In 1616, the Church warned him not to teach or support the heliocentric theory. Galileo agreed, but he continued his studies privately. Years later, he wrote a book called Dialogue Concerning the Two Chief World Systems. In this book, 3 characters discuss the 2 models of the universe, the Earth-centered system and the Sun-centered system. Although Galileo claimed he was being neutral, it was clear that he supported the heliocentric model. The Church was not pleased. In 1633, Galileo was brought before the Roman Inquisition, a special court of the Church. He was accused of heresy, going against Church teachings. Under pressure, Galileo was forced to say that he had been wrong and that the Earth did not move. It is said that after he recanted, he quietly whispered, "Eppure si muove," and yet, it moves. Whether he actually said those words or not, they became a symbol of scientific truth and freedom. House arrest and final years. After the trial, Galileo was not sent to prison, but he was placed under house arrest for the rest of his life. He was not allowed to meet students or publish new books freely. Even so, Galileo never stopped working. During his later years, his eyesight began to fail, and he eventually became blind. But with the help of his students and friends, he continued his research. He wrote another important book, Two New Sciences, in which he summarized his life's work on motion and strength of materials. This book later became a foundation for modern physics. Galileo died on January 8, 1642, in Arstri, near Florence, Italy. Ironically, the same year another great scientist, Isaac Newton, was born, the man who would build upon Galileo's discoveries and take science to new heights. Legacy and impact. Galileo's courage, curiosity, and logical thinking changed the world. He proved that truth should come from observation and experiment, not just tradition or authority. He showed that the universe follows natural laws that can be measured and understood through mathematics. Because of his work, Galileo is often called the father of modern science. His discoveries about motion, gravity, and astronomy paved the way for all future scientists. Even though he suffered for his beliefs, his ideas survived and inspired generations after him. In 1992, more than 350 years after his death, the Catholic Church officially admitted that Galileo had been right. The Earth does move around the sun. Vocabulary builder. Word meaning. Curiosity, desire to know or learn something. Experiment, a test done to discover or prove something. Telescope, an instrument for viewing distant objects. Heliocentric, having the sun at the center. Heresy, a belief that goes against the teachings of the Church. Observation, the act of watching something carefully. Inertia, the tendency of an object to resist change in motion. Final thoughts. Galileo Galilei's story is not just about science, it's about courage, truth, and the human desire to understand the world. He dared to question powerful authorities in search of knowledge. His life reminds us that progress often begins with one brave person who dares to think differently. Even centuries later, Galileo's words and discoveries continue to shine like stars in the night sky, guiding learners, scientists, and dreamers toward the light of